going on, guys, and welcome back to another video. We are starting this video by a much needed parts run. So our first stop today is PSA Suspension. They are the ones who modify the engine harness for the 180 in the first place. So our next stop is local legend Brent Peters' house, owner of Luxy Performance.
To all the killers and $100 bill.
You've outdone yourself once again. Thank you very much. Next stop, final drive, we're going to pick up a one-piece tail shaft. Okay, so we got the tail shaft now, and just around the corner is a specialized race shop called Lost Racing. So that's where we're headed next. We got all the speed flow. All right, so we just finished up at Lost Racing. Next stop is Trident Motorsport. Next stop is Auto One Cunnington. The boys there have ordered me in a few bits and pieces for both cars, so let's go pay a visit to those guys. We're now back at home, guys. We are in the shed. It's time to get the 180 ready and put it all back together. The first thing we're gonna have to do is put all the heat wrapping back onto the extractors. That is gonna be a great way to keep all the temps down. Plus it really makes the extractors look pretty Hollywood because they're pretty average looking, I'm not gonna lie. So this is the heat wrap that I picked up from Brent Peters, Luxy Performance, a bit earlier. Now this is a super simple procedure. All you gotta do is you wet the heat wrap and then you just keep wrapping it around and around and around and around until it's finished. And that's gonna be super boring, so let's skip to the part where it's all finished. And done. So they look a little bit dark at the moment. That's because they're still wet, so they'll look heaps better when they're dry. Wanna see? So this is what it looks like after it's all dried. Nice and Hollywood. Looks cool, mate. So this side is like a really big pain in the ass. These have to go on in a certain order, otherwise it is just not going to work in the slightest bit. The first thing we have to do is we have to put the extractors on, the headers. We've got to put them on super loosely. We've got to bolt this section up to the back there, then this up to the rest of the catback exhaust. Now we have to leave it all loosely at this stage, because what we need to do is we need to set the angle that this extractor sits so that it clears the intermediate shaft and it clears the chassis rail, but it also clears these power steering lines just down here. We can then tighten the extractors down and then the rest of it sort of just falls into place with the way that the exhaust lines up. Also, we've got to use a consortment of different bolts. So we've got to use these Allen key ones just where we don't quite have enough space to even get a spanner in there. No room between the chassis rail and the intermediate shaft. Now that is just almost resting on the bell housing there. So okay, so this side is actually heaps easier. This is unmodified and it just bolts straight in, nothing's in the way, and it lines up perfectly with the catback exhaust. So that's what it looks like. Coil packs are now back on. We've got the leads on, all the heat shields are on, exhaust is all bolted up. We're also going to be putting the factory brake booster and factory master back into the car. We've got the fittings we require from Lost Racing. You know, we had to hit the booster with that fresh black paint. Okay, so we got the factory booster back in and we've got all the lines now plumbed up to it. The next thing we have to do is bleed the brakes. If you guys really need to know how to do it, go onto YouTube and type in how to bleed brakes. However, quick montage. So unfortunately, there is no engine harness. There has been some corona related delays in postage, which means certain parts can't come out, which means the engine harness cannot be completed. Fortunately, that is where we're at. That is the last piece to the puzzle that we need to finish this car off. Once we get the new engine harness, the car can start up again. Then it's pretty much ready for a slide. I was really hoping to be able to get to the track and take this car back and sort of finish off where I started with that last video, working on some practice runs with the coronavirus downtime. However, we're just gonna have to wait until my next R&R. We're just gonna have to play it by ear. Hopefully the harness will be done very soon, and that'll be the last thing I need to get this thing running again. And then we can go see if it'll catch fire in the next video. Hopefully not. Just LS things. We've got a brand new fire extinguisher in there. We've got a slightly bigger one than we had last time, so hopefully that will help if the car ever catches on fire again. So I've taken what has been a major negative and turned it into a positive. I've fixed a lot of things. I've gone over the car in a fine-tooth comb. I've stripped a few things out of it that weren't necessary anymore. So realistically, besides some damage to the livery on the bonnet, damage to the paint in the engine bay, the car is pretty much back to where it is and it's ready to go. We just need that engine harness and then we'll be finished. Let's just admire the engine bay for how clean and tidy it is at the moment without the engine harness, and then that's where we're going to wrap this video, guys.